Updates on Alex Bregman and Roki Sasaki, and predictions on where the top free agents where the top remaining free agents sign this offseason. That and more ahead here at the Upside. And Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us early on a Wednesday morning. It is New Year's Day. Hopefully you guys had some fun last night with your friends and family. Our thoughts and prayers are with those that were in New Orleans and affected by the tragedy. If you haven't heard by now, it is absolutely horrible, and we're hoping for the best for those involved. And hopefully people come out of it out of the hospital and healthy and safe, and the families that were affected by that are made whole again, hopefully. But horrific scene last night, but hopefully the rest of you guys had a great New Year's, got to spend it with your friends and family, and let's get into some baseball talk. First, let's start with Alex Bregman. The favorites there still are the Red Sox and Tigers. Tigers seem to be the favorite there because that's where it appears Alex Bregman is hoping to go. Why do I say that? Well, it appears the Tigers' contract offer might not be up to where the Red Sox are, yet they're still trying to quote-unquote go all in for Alex Bregman. What does that tell you? Is that Bregman really does prefer going to the Detroit Tigers. If all things are equal, I think he will sign there with Detroit. That'd be a great offseason for them. You'd have to picture them as probably one of the favorites there in the Central along with the Guardians. Royals, to me, would be a half step behind, but also a very competitive now in that Central division. Twins have taken a big step back there, and I think it's clearly a three-team race right now in the Central. Guardians are still the favorite as far as I'm concerned, but when we see Alex Bregman sign, if he goes to Detroit, I could see them very easily winning that division. Now, it won't be their final move. They would still look to bring in a reliever. We've talked ad nauseum about them bringing in Kirby Yates or Ryan Presley, but those are two significant upgrades for a Detroit Tigers team that needs some professionalism, that needs some guys with playoff experience to come in and keep their young guys on the straight and narrow. They're going to have Colt Keith over there at first base this year. Gleyber Torres is going to come in there, but he's up and down, especially defensively with how he performs. You'd rather have a leader come into that clubhouse. Gleyber Torres is not necessarily that vocal leader you're hoping for. That is what you're getting in Alex Bregman. So that's the piece I'm hoping that goes to Detroit. I think it'd be great for baseball. Same thing with the Boston Red Sox. I think it'd be a great fit in that organization. Really help out that young team, be a good steward for the organization to get those young guys over the hump. Then it would increase increase the possibilities of bigger moves that we could see. Most notably, Luis Castillo could be traded to the Boston Red Sox in exchange for Casas and Yoshida. I'd imagine there'd be some other pieces involved in that deal as well, but that was one such deal that was brought up last week by the Boston Red Sox if they were able to bring in Alex Bregman. Now, if for some reason Detroit is unable to get a deal done with Bregman, I would expect him to go to the Boston Red Sox. That'd be great for Boston. I think that'd be fantastic for their future. Great for the young players on that squad as well. We'll see what happens there. Welcome in Paul, Holly, John, JG. Appreciate you guys joining us. Happy New Year's, everybody. When will the trades pick up again? I would expect probably later on this afternoon, conversations will begin to pick up again. And then probably later this week, we could see the trade market really get going, especially once we see Kirby Yates come off the board. I think he's the first domino of that relief market that's going to come off the board, and then we could see some trades in that relief market as well. I don't think there's really a holdup on Jordan Montgomery as far as him getting traded. In fact, that might even happen before Kirby Yates if Yates decides to go to the Diamondbacks. But I would expect a few trades this week. But as far as bigger trades, like Kyle Tucker level trades, I wouldn't say we're going to see too many of those. Pitching trades are really the main thing we're going to see up until spring training. Looking at Dylan Cease, Luis Castillo. I know there are some pundits out there that say we see a Pablo Lopez trade. I think that one's probably going to wait until the until the trade deadline. Same thing with Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette. I don't see those guys being moved at this point, especially when Toronto's still trying to win. But we've gone quite a bit into Toronto and their struggles to bring in free agents over the last couple of weeks, and I just don't agree with the way they went about doing so. I get it. They needed to improve their roster. I get it. They're trying to save as much money as they could to bring in the top talent. You want to bring in a Soto. You want to bring in a Burns. You want to bring in a Bregman. I get it. You want to spend money and show that Guerrero and Bichette are going to be able to stay there. But those guys are not signing an extension. I don't think there's any way they do. They're going to go into free agency. You're going to have to risk losing them. And there's nothing on that team right now besides loyalty to the Toronto fan base and loyalty to the city that would inspire me any kind of confidence that he would sign an extension there with the Blue Jays. What exactly are you pointing to that's going to be on the roster in 26, 27, 28 that instills any confidence in those players even returning to the Toronto Blue Jays, let alone players that are outside of the organization to come in there? The whole time they've been going about this offseason trying to bring in that top flight free agent. Great, go after them all you want, but make sure you make additions to this roster in addition to those pieces, because there's really nothing there long term for that fan base, for those free agents to really look at and say, hey, at least I have X, Y, and Z to play with in years 4, 5, and 6 of my deal. You don't have those players on your roster. Looking at the roster right now, Jose Barrios, probably your best pitcher long term. And then outside of that, you got George Springer for a year. And then Jimenez that you bring in as the trade piece. Obviously a negative asset in my mind. I don't like the trade that they did bringing him in, but at least he's one long-term piece you can point to and say he's here. But that's not exactly winning me over in free agency. If I'm Alex Bregman, I don't see those moves and say, yep, that's the reason how we're going to stay in contention and win a wild card. I don't see that happening. And for the Blue Jays not to address that, to not try to increase the ability of this roster with shorter-term deals with free agents or even trades to help boost up that roster to say, hey, we're at least going to be competitive even if we don't bring you in, has been a bit of a misstep in my mind. I keep comparing them to the Farhan Zaidi Giants with the way they go after free agents year after year after year, going after top flight free agents and continuing to miss. Well, until they show me otherwise, I think we're very much entering that phase for the Toronto Blue Jays. They're going to be entering a phase where they're going to be rebuilding, not just for a year or two, but probably 3 to 5 years, because that farm system has been depleted and underperforming the last couple of years, and they're going to have to get some good prospects in there. To do so, they're going to have to bottom out as a franchise, get into that 60-win, 50-ish win plateau, and that's going to be tough on that Blue Jays fan base. They have the money to spend, and ownership is willing to spend. Are they going to be able to do that, though, with ownership there? I don't think they're going to commit to that type of a rebuild. I think they're going to be stuck in mediocrity, mediocrity hell, as it were. And that's exactly where you don't want to be in Major League Baseball. You don't want to be in that 75 to 80 win threshold because you're not going to get low enough in the draft to get top end talent. You're not going to be attractive enough to outside teams to say, hey, you're on the up and coming teams list. You're really going to be stuck in the middle for years and years and years. And that's where I'm worried that the Blue Jays are going to be headed. So hopefully the Blue Jays can figure it out. Hopefully they're able to re-sign Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. I just don't see how the way it's been done so far this offseason. Welcome in, Jonathan. Welcome in, Hank. Appreciate you joining us. Good morning and Happy New Year. Is there a slight chance Bregman signs with the Mets, and what would the alternative if both Bregman and Alonso aren't signed? Good question there. Welcome in, and good morning to you guys. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. Got about 50 of you guys with us right now. Make sure you guys hit that like on the video. But as far as Bregman, is there a chance he goes to the Mets? I'd put it at 1 or 2%. I think Cohen's money, you never rule him out of anything, really. But do I think it's overly likely? No. I still think it's very likely they bring in Pete Alonso, even though the Giants are circling. I think they get that one done. But say worst case scenario happens and they don't get either one of those guys. What is their fallback option at first base? I think option number one is Vientos becomes your first baseman. DH becomes a little bit of a hole. Maybe you bring in a JD Martinez as a one-year option. But third base, I think they revisit the idea of Nolan Arenado going to the Mets. I think that's probably the easiest addition they could make if they miss on both of those guys. Then you revisit the idea of Carlos Correa. If the Twins are willing to eat enough money to make it palatable for your front office and your ownership group there with the injury risk that you had when you initially offered him a contract a couple of years ago in free agency, maybe you go that route. But I think if you miss on Alonso and Bregman, Vientos becomes your first baseman. You add one of the aging guys at DH there, like JD Martinez, somebody of that type of player, that Justin Turner, players like that to help out your DH spot, and then you go to third base with Nolan Arenado. Paul, been hearing the Giants are looking to trade for Sandy Alcantara based on Kyle Harrison. Can you see if this is realistic? Good morning, Paul. I think I know where you're getting that information. That was on Bleacher Report walk-off, if I remember correctly. How do I put this? It was purely speculation. I'll put it that way. That trade that they had posted out there was pure and total speculation. I know they're looking to upgrade their roster. I know they're looking to make any addition they can to make themselves competitive, or at least more competitive, in 2025. As far as anything specific between the Marlins and the Giants, there is none. There is no specific link between the two teams. That is pure speculation as far as their interest in Sandy Alcantara. I'm sure they're interested in him, but they're not going to move him. At least Miami, I don't think, is going to move him until we get to the trade deadline and he shows he's healthy again. Why is that? Because they're going to get double what they would get right now in the offseason in exchange for him. As far as the trade return there, the trade is not necessarily horrible. The trade that Bleacher Report walk-off had on it, I believe, was Harrison and Matos in exchange for Alcantara. Could something like that work? Sure. But do I see it happening this offseason? No. I would just put a pin on the Alcantara trade rumors. But as far as the Giants, they are hungry to improve this offseason. You see that with their pursuit of Pete Alonso, even though he might not be the perfect fit for that organization. They're just trying to improve in any way they possibly can with Buster Posey at the helm, and you can't really fault them there. So we'll see. Hank, Rangers, Yankees, ALCS, Young, Comeback Player of the Year, All-Star fame full of Rangers again. All-Star game full of Rangers again. Evaldi, Cy Young, Aroldis, Corey Seager, and Marcus Semien sits a game. Semien does need a day off. I will say he did look worn down towards the end of the year. He needs to slow down. I would hope for that if I'm a Rangers fan. I think you got to have a lot of good luck break your way as far as health, but we'll see. Bochy wins another every other year championship for Texas. I mean, he did that with the Giants. That's what you're hoping for if you're Texas right now. Nando, well, Happy New Year's, everyone. God bless. Happy New Year's, everybody. Appreciate you guys joining us. Fairly early on a Wednesday morning on New Year's Day. I know you guys were up late last night. You guys can kind of hear it in my voice. Still got the sleep in my voice anyway. But, wanted to get out there, talk some baseball with you guys, and just enjoy the day, get off to a good start. College football playoff gets going again today, so hopefully we have some good games. You'd rather have Harrison? I don't know. I'd still rather have Alcantara at this point. Justin, when are the D-backs going to sign or trade somebody? I think this week is where they're going to make a few more moves. I say a few because they're going to add a closer at some point. I think they are going to be one of the teams that is active in the relief market today, and I do believe they're going to try to move on from Jordan Montgomery rather quickly here. I don't think they're going to take him into spring training, so I would look for a trade here in the first week or two of January. Can you believe it, guys? It's January. God, I feel old. Oh man, it feels like it's, I don't know, still 2009, honestly. But we have New Year's again, and another year has passed. I mean, goodness gracious, time is just flying by. All right, Happy New Year's, family. Welcome in, Clint. Welcome in, Native Hawaiian. Appreciate you joining us. If our guys can stay healthy and not randomly get taken out by Maton, we'd have a scary lineup. Maton did get a few hit by pitches on some hitters there, so I get your point there. How true is the story about the Mets or DeGrom agent reaching out to the Mets? Honestly, I haven't heard that one. I'm sure his agent has reached out to the Mets regarding other players, but as far as it regarding Jacob DeGrom, I haven't heard anything to validate that type of a story. Welcome in Upside, Upside. Welcome in Lucas. Appreciate you joining us once again. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like on the video. Goes a long way to helping our video out after we do end our live. So if you wouldn't mind helping us out and hitting that live, we'd greatly hitting that like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe as well. We're going to keep you guys updated on the latest from the hot stove season here in the off season for Major League Baseball. And as we get closer to the regular season, we'll keep you live, or we'll be live every single weekend, or every single night anyway, keeping you guys updated on everything that's happening in the wonderful world of baseball. Probably true. We have good relations with the Mets. Talks always happening. Well, again, I'm sure there's talks always happening with all agents and all players, but I haven't heard anything to validate the rumors as far as that, or as far as the comment that you mentioned there. How long are you here for? We'll be live for probably another 30-ish minutes, 45 minutes, kind of keeping you guys updated. I do want to get into some predictions as far as where players are going to go. So let's go ahead and head over to X and just see if anything is happening at the moment. Alrighty, just some more rumors, articles about where Alex Bregman is going to end up, it looks like. Let's head over to the free agent list and kind of look at what's left on the free agent board. Lucas Lindor for Jacob DeGrom, I'm hearing. I don't think either team would do that, honestly. All right, so let's see where some of these top flight options could go. Pete Alonso, we'll start with him, one of the biggest names on the market. Where could he possibly go this offseason? For me, the favorite still is the Mets. I think that's where he goes. Giants are still looking to shake the whole Farhan Zaidi thing off of their organization, but I think they're going to fall short here. I think they're going to end up with one of the other first basemen that you see on this list. My guess is a guy like Anthony Rizzo would kind of help out their roster for at least 1 year. Maybe they go with a little bit younger of an option, a Ty France, a Bobby Dahlbach, somebody like that. But for me, I think the best piece for them for 1 year would be a guy like Anthony Rizzo. So I'll pick Rizzo to go to the Giants, at least at the moment. Welcome in, Frankie. Let's see. You would love to trade him back? Honestly, I don't want to trade Jacob DeGrom. The money is spent. You haven't really seen what he can do in a Rangers uniform. Now, of course, we knew when he came into the Rangers he was going to have to stay healthy in order for that contract to make sense. He has not been able to stay healthy, and that's why. But I wouldn't make the trade, honestly. I would rather stick with DeGrom in our rotation rather than bringing in Lindor. You're going to have roughly similar money between the two sides. I'm not saying Lindor is a worse player than DeGrom. I'm just saying as a Rangers roster, we don't need another shortstop, whereas having DeGrom, if he's healthy, you have everything you need in that rotation when healthy. But of course, that's the big caveat. When healthy, you're not exactly getting an advantage by bringing in Lindor by that trade idea, though. Mets won't want DeGrom back. That ship sailed a long time ago. Honestly, as far as the DeGrom side or the Mets side of things, they do need a real number one besides Senga. Not that DeGrom is necessarily healthier than Senga, but having a player of DeGrom's stature on that rotation would certainly elevate their postseason chances in my mind. I'm not saying DeGrom specifically, but another starting pitcher that's a number one I could see them trying to acquire at the deadline. Pablo Lopez, Alcantara come to mind. But we'll see here. Welcome in, Sean. Welcome in, Travis. Cubs need a backup first baseman. Rizzo seems to fit other than being a lefty. I agree there. Mervis will be Marlins first baseman. Yes, he will. Um let's see here. As far as another first baseman, since you brought up the Cubs, I think Ty France would be a good option there for him. Maybe a Mark Canha would be a good fit for the Cubs. The connection there with the Brewers days with Mark Canha, I think with Craig Counsell as the manager, could be a nice fit there. Justin Turner as a veteran there could be a nice fit. Walsh, I don't necessarily be a great fit, but as a non-roster invitee, I might get there as well. Let's see here. We might get 11 games. Well, I mean, for DeGrom, you're hoping for maybe 20 to 25 games. I think on the low end would be 11, but you're looking at Jacob DeGrom. He's going to be your number one when healthy, period. As far as the innings, I think that's really where you're going to limit him to try to keep him healthy. I think early in the season, the plan for the Rangers, for DeGrom anyway, is to limit him to probably 5-6 innings max, no matter where his pitch count is, and then turn it over to the bullpen. And then kind of keep that plan for probably 2 to 3 months. And then around the All-Star break, you kind of crank it up a little bit, let him go into the 7th or 8th inning if his pitch count is reasonable. But I think the Rangers are going to treat him with kid gloves throughout the entirety of the season, along with Tyler Mahle. Both of those guys coming back from big-time injuries last year, and we'll see how they recover. I think they have some good options in that starting rotation, but health is a key factor in that rotation. If those guys aren't healthy, we could have a tough situation going on with the Rangers for that starting rotation, but that was the case last year. They missed DeGrom for the majority of the season last year, and they missed Mahle for the majority of the season as well. They thought their rotation was going to be a dark spot on that rotation, a real blind spot for them, because they were hoping that maybe they'd get a few good games out of Bradford. Well, they got some really good production out of that starting rotation, even with those guys missing pretty much the entirety of the season aside from a few games. And they had a good rotation. The issue was the lineup didn't produce, and injuries really set the Rangers back. If they're able to get back on the right track offensively, one would think the rotation would be good enough to hold up for the 162, and then you're back in the postseason, and then who knows? Bruce Bochy is unlike most other managers in Major League Baseball. He knows how to manage once you get there, and we'll see what happens. Hoping he rocks it. What about Rocker? Absolutely. I love Kumar Rocker. I think they're going to manage him very similarly to the way they handle DeGrom and Mahle as well, not allowing him to go very deep into games, mainly because his pitch count's going to get up there relatively quickly. He's very good as far as a strikeout artist, but he's young. He's going to need time. I think when they get to October, their best bet for once they get to a postseason series, you're looking Eovaldi, DeGrom, probably games 1 and 2, and then you're probably looking at game 3, probably a stack of Kumar Rocker as one of the players, and then maybe a John Gray piggybacking there. Tyler Mahle maybe piggybacked with Jack Leiter as well once you get to the postseason. In the playoffs, maybe use Dane Dunning piggybacked with DeGrom. But that's how I see them hopefully getting through a season as long as they get healthy to the postseason at the end of the year. That's how I see the rotation stacking up once they get to October. But you have to get there first. We'll see how they perform in the 162. Pete, are you kidding? Of course. Pete Alonso would be a great get for Texas, but I don't see the Rangers doing it. I think they are happy with their mix that they have at first base, and they don't necessarily have the money to bring in Alonso. Welcome in, Player Time. Appreciate you joining us. Happy New Year, everybody. Bregman's 24 numbers don't jive with a long-term contract. Don't be surprised if the Tigers just take a pass. I don't see them paying him for more than 4 years if they do. Okay, so this has kind of been my point about Alex Bregman. Has he lived up to the quote-unquote ceiling that he has? No, which is why he has that untapped potential. But you look at his numbers last year from basically May on, he hit around 284 last year. He had a tough start to the year, but he still didn't reach his ceiling towards the end of the year as well. 284 is not necessarily the ceiling of what Alex Bregman can be. Also, if you consider the leadership qualities that he has, and the Tigers aren't going to get him for a short-term deal, even if he does want to go there. He's going to get a long-term contract. Now, as far as the numbers not necessarily matching up with what other long-term contracts have gotten, I understand that point, but he's going to get a longer-term deal, a better contract than what Willy Adames got. I understand you may not think it might not be worth it. I understand you think there's risk there involved. I understand that you worry about the numbers ultimately being what they were this past year, repeating themselves and not being worth the contract that he's going to sign. And for a Detroit Tigers team that already has negative assets in Javi Baez, would you be willing to invest that in Alex Bregman? I think those are two very different players. Baez was always a hot and cold player, and there was really real mercurial talent there. He could play, out of his mind for 2 months with Francisco Lindor in the right situation with the Mets. He could get the money and then be a fat and happy player and just, live with what he's got. Nonchalant defense, big strikeout rates, selling out for the home run. Not a clubhouse leader is what Javi Baez has really become. Alex Bregman, you're never going to have to worry about those issues with. He's always going to be a very competitive player. He's always going to be the first guy to the ballpark. He's always going to be the last one to leave. He's always going to be mentoring those young guys there. Baez doesn't do that for you. And I don't think you have to worry about that. Now, as far as signing him to a long-term deal, the leadership is necessarily an intangible there. It does help, making you feel more comfortable giving that big-time contract. But the reason you're giving him that contract is for performance. And I think he's going to perform significantly better than Baez and really raise the floor and the ceiling of this team. I think he elevates that team in ways no other free agent really could this offseason, and he's going to beat the Willy Adames contract. Again, 7 for 182. He's going to beat that deal rather easily. Let's see here. Tato, welcome in. The Rangers desperately need a reliable starter. Their entire rotation is injury prone. This is why I would love for them to grab Pablo Lopez. I'm kind of coming around to the standpoint where they could use a number one type of pitcher in their rotation. But I will say that with one big caveat. I want to see them get to the regular season first and see how this rotation performs. Say they get to spring training and then they find out, DeGrom is going to have to go on the injured list. He's out for the rest of the year once again. Then immediately you're going to have to add another starter right then and there. You have the assets to do so by lumping together. You may be one of your infielders, Ezekiel Duran or a Josh Smith, one of your top prospects, pitching prospects in the minor leagues, maybe even Cody Bradford and another piece there to really get a guy like Pablo Lopez or an Alcantara or whoever else you want to bring in. But right now, I would want to see how this team gets to the start gate and just see how the rotation ultimately unfolds. I think that's what the Rangers' plan is. You have to hope for Roki Sasaki, but I don't think you can count on it. But if the Rangers were able to pull that one off, I think that would, solve a lot of the questions that Rangers fans might have about that rotation. But again, he's never pitched in the major leagues. We'll see how he performs. But I get the point as far as injury-prone players and young players in that rotation. There's a lot of risk in that rotation, but it also has a big upside there. If things break the right way, if DeGrom is able to stay healthy, Kumar, adapts to the big leagues, very well, you can have a great rotation. So I don't think there's a necessity to make a move right now. Once you get to the trade deadline, when you're going to have Alcantara out there, when you're going to have Pablo Lopez out there, then I think they're going to have the flexibility financially and with their prospects to be able to make a move if there's a need in that starting rotation. Welcome in, Ray. Appreciate you joining us. I think it's the first time I've seen you in our chat. I really appreciate you joining us there. Santander, Alonso, Sasaki to the Giants. Well, we'll start with your first one there. Santander, sounds like the favorites there are prohibitively the Toronto Blue Jays and the, let's put it this way, the Los Angeles Angels. Yuck. If you guys want to check out our video that we put out 2 days ago about how this is not a good move for the Los Angeles Angels, I really invite you guys to check that one out. I roasted the Angels for their interest in Anthony Santander, trying to do things the shortcut way once again with that organization. But the Giants aren't there for Santander as much as he might be an improvement for that outfield. They really do need to improve that outfield first and foremost. But I think they're going to wait a year. I think Kyle Tucker is the guy they're hoping to bring in next offseason, but we'll see where they go. The second guy you mentioned there was Alonso. They are there for Pete Alonso. I don't necessarily think it's overly likely, but I'd put it at maybe a 30-25% chance they bring in Pete Alonso. But I think the overwhelming favorite is still the Mets. But you never know. The reason why the Giants would do it is because they need a power hitter in that lineup. They haven't had a power hitter the level of Barry Bonds or even close to that since him. And so that's one reason you bring him in, to kind of give yourselves a little bit better lineup. And two is to showcase to all free agents that you're a legitimate free agent destination, not just a fallback option like they have been with Farhan Zaidi. So those are the two reasons why it would make sense. And then three, you hope you bring in Sasaki, but again, you never really know. It's going to be Sasaki's choice. The playing field is pretty much wide open. You have no idea whether or not you're going to win it or not, so you can't operate that way in hopes of getting him. You have to hope, that you get him, obviously, but you still have to execute your plan and still add to this team. So I would expect them to still add another starting pitcher, maybe a 1 or a 2 year contract for a guy like Andrew Heaney level starter on the free agent market, somebody like that to round out that rotation. Let's catch up with a few of these comments here. Lucas personally has way too awesome to not want. An infield of Corey, Marcus, Pete, and Josh is insane. I would agree there, but the money just doesn't make sense, though. I think that's been pretty abundant from the Rangers front office, is that the reason why they moved Nathaniel Lowe was for money reasons, so they could afford to bring in Jock Peterson, even if they were able to move on from Leody Taveras and from John Gray. There wouldn't be enough money, even if you backload the deal, to get Pete Alonso and a guy like Kirby Yates at the back end of your bullpen. So as good as Pete Alonso might be, and as big of an upgrade at first base as he might represent, as good as that infield might be, there's just no way for the Texas Rangers to execute that type of a move. I think it'd be great, but I just don't think that the Rangers are going down that pathway. And honestly, I don't mind the way the Rangers' first base position is looking right now. Even if you have a platoon, you have Josh Smith handling the righties, Berger handling the lefties. I like that platoon at first base with Ezekiel Duran there waiting in the wings if he can catch fire with his bat once again. But it's about money, and I just don't think they have the money to do so. Texas is scary. What if Josh Smith and Leody both go off and start another magic run? Well, that's been the issue. Leody's been very streaky in his year, more down years than positive years offensively. Josh Smith has really had one half of a successful season and really wore down in the second half. His numbers really kind of fell apart after the trade deadline last year. And, he was around a 200 hitter for the second half of the year. Just yuck. But, again, I think that's just with too much playing time. He really wore down. Hopefully having a platoon there, having to not face lefties as much, really playing against righties only, I think is the best case scenario for Smith, and really, maximize the value of his bat. I see everybody out there, saying Josh Young and Josh Smith are going to split time at first base. No, the Rangers have already told you definitively no. When Josh Young is healthy, he's your everyday third baseman. He's not coming out for rest. He's not coming out for anything. He is their third baseman. If anything, the platoon is at first base with Josh Smith anyway, not at third base. Just one bit of news that I want to kind of clear up, that I've seen, MLB Network, post the Rangers lineup over and over and over again, what their projected lineup is going to look like. It's not Josh Smith at third base platoon. That's over there at first. Young is your starter every day at third base. Welcome in, Robert. Happy New Year. Thanks for the episodes. Really enjoying the hot stove. Couldn't agree more. We finally get the signing of Corbin Burnes to a surprise team in the Arizona Diamondbacks. 6 years for $210 million. Now we're getting Bregman, and then we'll really see the rest of the market kind of filter itself out rather quickly, I'd imagine. That's really one of the top free agents that's left, along with Alonso and Santander. Then you're left with basically the rest of the market. Relief pitching is probably the only one left. And then once you get Kirby Yates going, I imagine that goes fairly quickly as well. But we could see the majority of the free agents sign in the next 3 weeks. So I'd expect a very busy news cycle here at the Upside. So make sure you guys hit that like, turn on your notifications, hit that subscribe button. Follow us over on X at UpsideSN, and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network, to stay up to date on all the latest from the hot stove season. Remember, we're going to be live every single night. So make sure you guys turn on your notifications and hit that like and subscribe. It really does go a long way to helping us out. Got about 90 of you guys with us right now. We're right around 35 likes on the video. Let's bump up that like number if you wouldn't mind. Really does help out the video, and would really appreciate that. Thank you guys very much for doing so. Leody needs to perform. That's a little harsh there, Hank. As far as Leody goes, I just think the Rangers would be best finding a new home for him. I know he's been working in Texas pretty much the entire offseason on his swing, and maybe they found something. Maybe, staying in the country, staying in Dallas with the hitting coaches and working on it all offseason is going to prove some results. But you also have to worry about Evan Carter's health coming into spring training. You have to have a fourth outfielder that you're comfortable playing every day if Carter's not ready on opening day, if he can't hold down the position because he's not healthy for whatever reason. That's why you still have Leody Taveras on the roster. He's probably better than most fourth outfield options out there on the free agent market right now that can handle center field. Honestly, I don't think there's one really that you could point to besides maybe Michael Taylor. I haven't seen him sign anywhere yet, but he might be one guy I would say is a fourth outfielder type that could handle center field for a couple of months while you wait for Evan Carter to get back if you move on from Leody. But you're stuck with a very similar situation there. But for me, Leody has to get that bat turned around. As far as Josh Smith, I think just getting a full offseason of rest and platooning at first base, being able to handle the righties when Berger's going to handle the lefties, I think it's going to work out great for that team, great for that first base combination there. But we'll see if Leody can get that bat turned around and see if he can get back to being what he was in 23. Not due to his career. Anyone thinking about Dylan Cease's second option hoops? Second option teams, possibly. Let's see here. Where do I think Dylan Cease could go? I still think the Orioles are the most likely, just because they seem to really value him right now. Other teams that could be a fit for Dylan Cease, I know Rangers fans have mentioned the Rangers as a possibility. I don't see that one quite as much, but I do see I do see the fit, but I don't see that happening honestly. Other teams that need some starting pitching could be like the Boston Red Sox have been looking all over the place for rotation options. If the Padres were looking to bring in Casas and Yoshida, just like we see in a Castillo trade there. Maybe they jump in there. The Cubs are looking for a starting pitcher. Reds are looking for some starting pitching. Those would be teams I would be looking at for Dylan Cease, or whatever the cool word is for pitchers. Okay. Texas, Rocker, Eovaldi, Dunning, DeGrom, all others. I think we can pull it off. Hope all the way. As far as the rotation, Dunning is going to be in the bullpen. I think DeGrom is your 1, Eovaldi your 2, Gray your 3, Molly your 4, Rocker your 5, Leiter your 6, Bradford possibly winning a rotation job if one of those guys gets injured in spring training. Dunning will be in the bullpen spot starter when necessary. The Rangers just don't value him as a starting pitcher. They just haven't. They like his ability to go give them length, but they don't necessarily like his stuff. And so that's really why he's the long man in their bullpen. And the reason why he had to agree to a contract reduction as far as what he could have gotten if the Rangers had tendered him a contract. He was expected to get around a $4 million tender. Rangers ended up giving him $2.9. Don, what happened to Evan Carter? He was injured for the majority of last season. I believe it was a back strain, a back reaction, some type of a back injury. Never good when you start hearing issues like that with players. Supposedly he is entering the offseason healthy and will be healthy at spring training, which is what you got to hope for as a Rangers fan. But he's hopefully going to win the starting job in center. At least that's what the Rangers are hoping for. But he's got to win it. Leote isn't just going to turn it over to him. The Rangers coaching staff there with Bruce Bochy really like his defensive abilities there in center. So he's got to go there and take it. I forgot about him and Langford too. Oh my God. I mean, Langford I think is going to be one of the best offensive weapons for the Rangers this coming season, along with Young and Seager. Simeon I think is going to be a good one as well, but I think they're really going to be led by Langford and Seager and Young. Garcia also is going to have a little bit of a bounce back year. I don't think he's going to have as poor of a year last year because the injuries really did affect him after that collision with Marcus Simeon at the end of May. His offensive numbers were way down after that. And I think he's got a whole offseason to really get right. And I think he will be when he gets to spring training, and we'll see what he's got. Alrighty, Jay's going to do something. Wouldn't be surprised to see them overpay for one of these guys. They're going to overpay for somebody, Travis. I just don't think it's going to be one of the top flight guys. I think they're going to be left with Anthony Santander, and I think they're going to be left paying him 5 years, say $22 million, which is more than what he was looking for, in order to convince him to go to Toronto. I think the Angels are there. The Astros will be there once they move Ryan Presley. But as it stands, I still think the Blue Jays are the favorites for him. If the Angels get him, I just want you guys to make sure you guys tune in the second you see that decision made, if he decides to sign with the Angels, because I'm going to go live and I am going to obliterate the Angels for doing so, and for good reason. If you guys want to check out the reasons why, I invite you guys to hit that subscribe button and check out our video from Monday as to why I'm so against the decision if they make the move to bring in Anthony Santander. Welcome in, Anthony. Appreciate you joining us. Bregman is a two-way player. Alonso is not. Mets could get Bregman, move Vientos to first base. If Vientos doesn't hit or just can't field, they sign Guerrero next year. Mets can beat the Yankees in a bidding war. Honestly, I agree with pretty much most of that. The only thing is, I think they're more likely to get Alonso at this point than Bregman. While all those points are valid, I just don't think they're overly likely to get Bregman. I don't think he necessarily wants to go there at this point. It does seem to be a two-horse race now, but with Cohen's money, you can't necessarily rule them out. Bregman is a two-way player, a much better player defensively and versatile. With Alonso, you're hoping for maybe a year or two more in the field, and then you have to flex him over to DH, which is why even if you bring in Alonso, I don't think that rules them out of bringing in Vlad Guerrero Jr., because then you move Guerrero to first base, you move Alonso to DH next year, and Cohen has the money to make it work. But we'll see what happens. Bregman, I think, is the premium player left on the market. Alonso is probably one of the top 5 that's left, along with Santander and a couple of other players. But Bregman's the belle of the ball right now, and I would expect him to make his decision fairly quickly this week. Happy New Year, everybody. Just crossed the 100 viewer threshold. If you guys are new here, Make sure you guys hit that like button and subscribe. We'll keep you guys updated on what's happening from the hot stove all off season long. Every night we'll have a live for you guys, updating you on the latest rumors, speculation, predictions. We'll update you guys on what your lineup could look like after you bring in an addition, what your lineup could look like. We'll discuss trade possibilities as well. And we are the best channel out there as far as interacting with our fan base. You guys can attest to it here in our chat. Do we read your comments? Do we talk about things with you? Do we ignore you guys? I don't think so. And if you guys really enjoy the baseball content and enjoy this type of coverage, I invite you guys to hit that like and subscribe. If you wouldn't mind, joining us here at the Upside, we really do enjoy all the fan interaction we do have. Those of you who have sent us super chats over the last month and hit that subscribe button, it does mean a lot to us. We've gained almost 500 subscribers since the winter meetings. Means a lot to us, and we're just going to keep on going. Really appreciate you guys joining us, and during the regular season, we'll keep this train going as well. So make sure you join us. Follow us at Upside Ascent on X and Upside Sports Network on Facebook as well. All right, let's check up on a few more comments here. Offense and defense solid. Even great pitching can get us, though, like 23. That's the question. The Rangers have a very risky pitching staff right now, but I think they have the wherewithal and financial flexibility right now to address it at the deadline if one of those guys does get hurt or is unable to perform. Roki Sasaki will sign in 2 weeks. Yes, we are 2 weeks away from him signing. January 15th through the 23rd is when he will sign officially with the team because that's when the new league year opens up for international bonus pool money. He will sign between $5.1 million and $7.5 million. Not a huge difference as far as the money, which is why it's all about where he wants to go. He keeps stating over and over and over again that he wants to be a great pitcher, and he's relayed that message through his agent, Joel Wolf. Wolf said originally that the market size might impact his decision. Sasaki basically corrected him on that and wanted him to spread the word with his conference that he had a couple of days ago, stating, no, market size isn't going to be a factor in my decision. It's all about where I can best be the best starting pitcher that I possibly can be. And so when you take into market size considerations, I know a lot of smaller markets were hoping to, that they'd have a better chance now, that he'd be looking for a smaller market. I think I'd pump the brakes on that conversation. I still think the Dodgers are the favorite. Less so, honestly, than I did say, a week ago. But I still think they're the heavy favorite to bring in Roki Sasaki. Now, the other teams that are still in the mix, Padres, Giants, Mariners, Rangers, Cubs, Mets, Yankees, and others, I still think have a legitimate case to bring him in. But as it stands right now, I still think the Dodgers are the favorite there. Hank, Young is a superstar if healthy. Absolutely. Superstar. Yes, I would agree there. Leote to the Rockies. Rockies I think he'd be a good fit there, but they always have decent outfield options. Let's try to catch up on some of these comments here. Wyatt will have a 30-30 season. Book it. Honestly, I think he's going to have a 40-30 season. I think the power numbers are really going to come this year for Wyatt Langford. I think he adjusted to Major League pitching throughout the year and really struggled in the first half to get anything to go over the fence. His first home run was an inside the park home run, but I think he's going to hit 40-30 next year. Book it. His speed really does play as well. Hank, his Texas Rangers career, I want him to succeed, but have lost patience. Honestly, I agree too. I really thought Leote was going to be a great fit for the Rangers, and he has defensively, but that bat just has not played. He started his career hitting under 100 for the first year he was up in the big leagues, and his offense, while good at times, has been negative for the most part. And you got to really count him as a defensive player. I really like the speed he brings and the pop that he has in his bat, but he's not consistent enough offensively to warrant an everyday role on my team if I'm the Rangers front office. So I'd be looking for an upgrade there. That's why they're looking for Evan Carter to take over that role in the outfield. So we'll see what happens. Carter has struggled against left-handed pitchers, though, which is why a right-handed hitter might be a better option there. I imagine Leote Taveras is trying to work on that right-handed swing because he is a switch hitter. Let's see here. Leote is getting more than 2 starts a week, then something went wrong. Honestly, I would agree there. Hank Leote, I want to go to a big club like the Yanks, Red Sox, Mets, etc. I think he'd be a good fit on the Yankees, but they already have Trent Grisham there. Red Sox are pretty set in their outfield. I don't think he's a fit there. Mets could use him as a replacement over Starling Marte, but I don't think they would do something like that. I think they're looking for a better piece offensively than what Leote would bring. I think him going to a team that needs some defensive abilities out there in their outfield, a team like the Yankees would be probably the best fit if they didn't have a Trent Grisham. But I don't see a easy fit right now for Leote unless it's just a team that's looking for a 1 year, stopgap option in their outfield. Maybe a team like the Twins just to say, hey, we did something to our fan base and just kind of roll it out there and see what happens. Should the Giants trade for Castillo from Seattle? Should they? I don't think they should. Will they? I think it's a possibility. I think they're looking to improve their roster any way they possibly can. I've mentioned that as a possibility a couple of different times in their last couple of lives since they missed out on Corbin Burns. I think he'd be a better option than Andrew Heaney to sign as a free agent. But that'd be a good option, a long-term option to help in their rotation. And then they'd still have money to go out there in the offseason and to spend on Kyle Tucker next year, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, whoever they want to bring in. But I think that'd be a good move for them. Is it overly likely? I'd say no. I think a trade to Baltimore is far more likely. Boston, if they get Bregman, is far more likely, among other stops. Even the Cincinnati Reds, I've heard in connection with Luis Castillo, would be more likely, in my mind, than the San Francisco Giants. If you were in charge of Sacramento A's and had a payroll of $200 million, could you take them to the playoffs? Honestly, I could. If they take the payroll that they have right now, which is what, $90 million underneath that $200 million, you're talking about 2 aircraft carriers that you could bring into that lineup, which I would spend it on starting pitching. Whoever the top free agent starters are next year is who I would try to bring in if I had that type of a budget. So just kind of fantasy world, if I had that type of money, Dylan Cease would be one guy I would try to bring in, say around $30 million. Same thing with Framber Valdez. I sign those 2 guys. I spend really big on the starting rotation. Then you've got a rotation that has Valdez, Cease as your 1-2, Severino's your 3, Springs is your 4, and then whoever you have left is your 5. You have roughly $30 million left to spend. I would try to bring in another option offensively, maybe even a shortstop. I like their shortstop that they have right now, but I'm looking for ways to improve my roster. Let's say they bring in another aircraft carrier, Kyle Tucker. Say it's around $35 million a year. That gets you really close to the $200 million number. I think having those 3 guys come in there, not saying it would happen, but in fantasy world, that would be how you get the A's to be a playoff team next season if they're going into Vegas and wanting to really cement themselves as a contender when they get to Vegas. Hank, I have rare baseball cards of Leote. He thoroughly disappoints me. Honestly, I have several as well. am a avid baseball collector. I actually have a business for baseball cards, but I haven't sold any yet. I'm still kind of sorting through all of my cards at the moment. I have probably, 3 million baseball cards. But it's quite a few to go through. And that's something, I was hoping to have value in later on, but Leote kind of, his value's really shrunk. And Wyatt Langford cards are the ones I'm trying to get right now. I have several Evan Carters. I got a 1/1 Evan Carter as well. And I'm hoping he gets back to the status he once had. I'll put it that way. Also, are you going to watch the college football playoffs today? What are your picks? Honestly, this is going to shock everybody. My pick is the Notre Dame Irish. I want them to win. I'm expecting them to win. I just think their one blip on the radar was Illinois. I think Texas is a really great team. I think Ohio State is better than what we thought they were going to be. I think they've found something. Penn State had a nice performance last night. If I had to pick a winner, though, of the entire thing, my pick probably first would be the Notre Dame Irish. Number 2, probably Texas. I just think they have one of the easier roads to get to the championship game and win it. I don't think Georgia wins it this year. I don't believe in Carson Beck. And then for the Oregon Ducks, they're a good team. To me, they're not a great team, though. They're probably one of the top 3 teams in college football, though. But they don't have an overwhelming team. I think if the way they win is that they have their overwhelming talent is really what that's going to get them there. But that talent doesn't necessarily show up in a explosive manner, if that makes sense. They're not going to blow anybody out in this college football playoff that's left. Maybe I'll be surprised, but I would expect Texas or Notre Dame to win it in my mind. Let's see here. Emmerich, welcome in. As a Jays fan, we need to sign Santander, sign Vladdy, and Bo. I just don't think you're going to get an extension done. I think that's going to have to wait until after the season, which is why I think they're going to try to trade them at the deadline. I don't think they're going to be a playoff spot, and I think they're going to have to try to recoup some value. I think they should have gone about this offseason a completely different route than what they've done. I'm sure they're going to try to discuss extensions. You're going to hear all kinds of news over the next month about, we think we're close on an extension. We really tried to get it done. And then when you get to spring training, when Vlad Guerrero Jr. has said, hey, we're not discussing this once we get there, You're basically going to say, well, we really tried. We're going to hope for the best, build the best team, try to win in 25, and then try to sign him in free agency. It's not going to happen. It's going to be false hope for Blue Jays fans. And, Santander, I think, is the one guy you are going to sign. I think it's going to cost you a pretty penny. I'm expecting north of a $100 million deal over 5 years. I'm expecting, say, $22 million over 5 years. So that'd be $110 million, a bit of an overpay for Tony Tater. As, Orioles fans will tell you, a great player, but he's not going to be an aircraft carrier type of player for you. He's a player that builds your roster out, a great 4, 5, 6 hitter in a good lineup. But if you're counting on him to be the, driving force in your offense if Guerrero and Bichette leave after the season, you're going to be in a rebuilding or a retooling situation, not a successful one. And you hope you get those extensions signed with Bo or Vladdy, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Alrighty, stream delay. We're trying to catch up with the comments more than anything else, Emmerich. There's a lot of comments. 2 days later, I can see the Angels doing this. Alright, let's see here. Trying to catch up with a few of these comments. If I missed your comment, I do apologize. Welcome in, Manuel. John K., I think it's the first time I've seen you in our chat. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. George, welcome back. Player time. Appreciate you guys joining us. So pumped for the stream. Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. Tigers' future outlook. I think they have a chance to win the Central this year if they get Alex Bregman and address their bullpen. If they don't, then I think they're going to be a wild card team at best. But I think they have a real chance to get both priorities done. Welcome in, Big Al. Appreciate you joining us. Giants is a great pitcher park for Sasaki. I would agree there. Lucas, Mike Maddox will pull up the PowerPoint presentation. Dodgers don't stand a chance. I don't think that's true, but I get your point there. Grant, welcome in. Thoughts on Hae-Sung Kim? For me, I think the two Kims are really good glove-first players that are going to go to one of the teams that's looking for middle infield help or a third baseman. We haven't heard any specific teams yet, and I think we will start to hear some rumors here this upcoming week. George, is it true that Tanner Scott is looking for a deal in the amount of 4 for 80? No way he gets that amount. In my opinion, I'm thinking 4 for 60, 3 for 50. I think right along the same lines as you. I'm sure he's looking for big money. I don't think he's going to get that level of money, though. I would say 4 for 60 sounds about right in this market. Anthony, could you see the Mets bringing in another bat besides Alonso Bregman to play outfield or DH? Honestly, I could. I think they need to bring in a bench bat or a corner outfield bat as well. I wouldn't rule them out bringing in a DH if Vientos does end up getting the job at first base and they miss on Alonso. But as far as a bat, they offered Teoscar a 2-year deal before he re-signed with the Dodgers. Yes, they did. But I think they're looking for a bat to replace Marte in that lineup. I think they're looking to trade him. Their hope is for a middle reliever at this point. If they eat the majority, if not all of that deal for Marte, I think they could get that return. But I think they're looking to replace Marte in that lineup, whether that be the trade market or free agency. I think they will add one more bat to that lineup. Imagine Juan Soto look over his shoulder and see Leody Taveras. I'm trying to imagine the disappointment on his face. If he's the next hitter in that lineup, I think that would be the case. But I think he's probably going to be a bottom of the order hitter if the Rangers do trade him. Manuel, Yanks should target Donovan from Cards. I think it'd be a good get for any team. I really like the player Donovan. I just don't think the Cardinals are looking to move him. I think he's going to be there for the foreseeable future. I do get the interest, though, from the Yankees. I get that one quite a few times from Yankees fans consistently messaging me, hoping they bring in Donovan. I've gotten that for the better part of the last year and a half. I just don't see it. I think the more likely fit for them is Nolan Arenado, and I don't see them getting him either, not at this point. Let's go Raptors. All right. Sasaki said he wants to be the best in the world. Who else to learn from other than DeGrom? I mean, he is the best pitcher when healthy. He's very good as far as tutoring young players as well. And you'd have Nathan Eovaldi on your roster as well to help mentor him. You got Higashioka, who speaks the language on your roster, Mike Maddox, and Bruce Bochy's, two of the best to ever do it as a pitching coach and as a manager. You have a great front office that's shown the willingness to spend and continue to keep this team in competition and to try to win a World Series. First World Series ever in Rangers history was 2023. So I get all of the reasons for Sasaki to possibly sign here, but there are a bunch of other clubs who can have very similar conversations with those guys. Hey, our facilities are great. You have a great manager in Dave Roberts. You have a great manager in X, Y, or Z. You have a great pitching coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have players on our roster who you can relate with. Great players on our roster who you can learn from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a matter of which team is able to convince him that where he can be the best he can possibly be. Willard, welcome back. Anything on the Astros? Right now, it looks like they're focusing on moving Ryan Presley and adding a corner outfield bat and getting an extension done with Framber Valdez. If they're unable to do so, I think they could revisit the idea of trading him. I would keep an eye out for the Baltimore Orioles if he becomes available via trade. And I think we could see a deal between the two teams because I think there's a fit there. I think you could trade Hurstead and one of the pitchers off of that Major League roster to the Houston Astros. Now, would the Astros be better in 25 for it? Probably not. Would they be better in the long-term future of their team? Probably. But for the Orioles, this would be, again, a one-year stopgap option for their rotation, and they'd have to be willing to sign him to an extension to make it worth it for at least me. But we've seen the Orioles farm system really lose a lot of talent the last couple of years, and we might be seeing the very bottom of the barrel here in a year or so if they continue to trade pieces for rental options for their rotation. Will there bulletin material to show him the error of his ways? I don't know about that. As far as Jock Peterson. Alrighty, let's see. You have a 1/1 Leody Taveras printing plate, black rookie auto, Bowman Chrome, PSA 10. That's a great card, my friend. That's a great card. I have one kind of similar. I have a Bowman Chrome as well, PSA 10. I have a gold Leody Taveras 1/1 from Bowman as well. Let's see here. Where do you think Profar goes? I still think he goes to the Padres. Not worth much. I mean, that's still a good card, though, to have. I mean, if he recoups some of his value, that's a nice card either way. If you're a fan of Leody Taveras, I think you'd try to get that card, but I don't think you're trying to collect it for the monetary value. Welcome back, Randall. I've been seeing your comments anyway that you're posting on our videos. I really do appreciate the way you interact, even when we're not live. Wanted to thank you for that. I know you've been posting quite a bit about Miller trades. Let's look at this one you mentioned here. Mountcastle, McDermott, and Beavers or Fabian for Miller. Not a bad trade, but I still think the Seattle Mariners aren't moving Miller no matter what you offer them. I think they're looking to move on from Castillo for financial reasons. Pirates get Mayo and the Orioles get Jarrett Jones. Honestly, I've heard that possibility out there. I think that's more likely than the Miller trade there. Miami gets Bradford, Bright, and Martinez, and O's get Alcantara. I don't see that one happening. All right, trying to catch up on some of these comments. I apologize if I miss it. If you guys want to make sure to send it again, I will try to catch those comments. Welcome in Mike Tanner Scott to the Dodgers. For me, that's the favorite for him at the moment. Blue Jays fans, y'all should know by now, Vladdy Daddy wants to come to Arlington. I don't know about that. I do think he's going to go to wherever he's going to get the best offer and have the best chance to succeed in the postseason. I think winning does matter to Vlad Guerrero Jr., and he does have a history of playing living in Texas when his dad was a member of the Texas Rangers. That was a great year. He also had a successful run in Baltimore at the very end, had success with the Angels. I don't necessarily think that the history of his father, those teams, necessarily is going to be a deciding factor, but it doesn't hurt to have that history there as well. By the way, Dodgers DH superstar retire in future. We'll see if talent in Japan without him. Last playoffs, Dodgers don't beat Padres in first game, plus everybody knows. Never give Houston bulletin board material to motivate them. Hope Jock can back his words up. I mean, I get your point as far as Ohtani being a great player, but I don't get your point as far as retiring. He's years away from that point. They're going to be a force in the National League for a decade with him as their designated hitter. So I don't really get that one. I don't think I get that the Padres are a good team in the NL West, but I think the Dodgers are the clear class there. As far as Jock giving them bulletin board material, the guys that really would use that and to the best of their ability are gone. Maldonado's gone, Correa's gone, Springer's gone. You can talk about bulletin board material all you want, but I don't think it matters a hill of beans in the off season. Mass, welcome in. Vlad will be an Angel of Summer, big trade to come. I don't see that happening. If you want to see me go off on them making a trade like that, definitely. They need to stop trying to short-circuit their offseason. Stop trying to short-circuit their building. Their prospect pool needs significant overhaul, and they need to bottom out as a franchise by adding pieces like Santander, like an Alonso, like a Kikuchi, like a Vlad Guerrero Jr. Does nothing to help your long-term future. Look at what they had with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Did they sniff the postseason at any point? No. So stop trying to make these signings sound like they're going to be the difference to get them to the postseason. They're not. They tried that. They tried it over and over again with far better players on their roster, and it didn't work. You have to get better players in your system, get them on cheap contracts at the major league level, you fill in holes via free agency, and then you try to compete. Not say, hey, we didn't make the postseason last year, our owner wants us to get there, so let's go ahead and throw money at the situation. How has that worked out for you in the past? It hasn't. So stop trying to say that they should do short-term options like Santander, like Alonso, like Vlad Guerrero Jr., because it's not going to work. I'm sorry, Angels fans, it's just not going to work. All right, player time. Why do you suppose Aaron Judge is so bad in the postseason? Some players rise to the moment, some players don't. I wouldn't say that he can't do it in the future, but he's struggled. He's had his fair share of struggles, but I think he will get there. Just having more and more at-bats in the postseason, I think he will get better as it goes. Everybody does. Let's see here. Mike Maddox will pull up with a PowerPoint. He will pull Sasaki. There are 3 things the Dodgers are scared of. Players who don't take to playoff choking and PowerPoint presentations. That's pretty funny there. El Gallo, appreciate you joining us. Mark Cano could be a good fit for the Diamondbacks. I don't really see that one. I know that they would be looking for a platoon possibly at in their outfield or at DH. I just don't see them really doing that. Maybe a Randall Grichuk reunion. But I think Cano is a better fit for a team in the NL Central like the Chicago Cubs or even the Milwaukee Brewers once again. But I would predict right now that the Cubs get him. We keep Vlad. I mean, if you're the Blue Jays, you got to hope you keep him. If you don't, you're really going to be hoping. You're really going to be stretching to try to make a wild card spot. So it's authentic, and the auto is 10 of 10. To be fair, I mean, any 10 of 10 is good. Don't get me wrong. It has more value than not. But autos, 1 of 1s, those are rare cards, and even if it's not for a great player, they still hold some value. I had a 1 of 1 that I got out of an Obsidian box for Tumani Kamara from the Portland Trailblazers. That wasn't worth anything really last year. Now he's in the starting rotation for the Trailblazers, averaging around 10 points a game. If he can get to a decent role player, that 1 of 1 could be worth a decent amount. Not necessarily, hundreds of millions, but we're talking a couple $100 maybe at best. But that's a really nice card that I've got. I've got, I don't know, 21 of 1s, 31 of 1s, somewhere in that range. But that was one of the rarer ones that I was surprised I got out of that box. Best possible, by the way. Let's see here. Vlad Sr. was the Ranger killer. He called him El Diablo, but he was such a great man. We loved him. Yeah, I mean, he was a great fan favorite for the Rangers. He was great when he came to Texas. The first time, getting them to the World Series really kind of helped them get to where they wanted to go. We should talk cards sometime. Absolutely. I do have quite a few of them. I'd be happy to do a live with that. That'd be fun. Alrighty, appreciate you guys joining us. Let's go ahead and update you guys, see if anything else is happening. We'll have some college football playoff today. Hopefully we get some news towards the end of the day. As far as baseball news, we'll have another live this evening. Doesn't look like anything else is happening. After being traded to the Phillies, Jesus Luzardo recently discussed his health. Okay. Still doesn't look like much. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys joining us today. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe if you are new here. We'll be live later on this evening, and we'll be live every single day from here on out, covering the hot stove season. Make sure you guys, if you enjoy the content, like the video, hit that subscribe button, follow us on X at Upside Descent, and on Facebook, Upside Sports Network. Thank you guys for joining us early on New Year's Day. Happy New Year, everybody, and we'll see you later on this afternoon. Happy New Year.